welcome back, or welcome for the first time. You are tuning in to your holistic health and revolutionary show, where if you can take just one lesson and inspiration, embrace it, harness it, and apply it with intention and speed, I guarantee you that you will become a completely transformed individual. Thank you. Thank you so much for spending some time out of your beautiful life with me and the Hueman Health Show. I am your host, your holistic performance enhancement specialist, Zeke Khalid, and I take it on my shoulders to be your guide and to be kind. I hope that the lessons that you take today are compelling and inspirational and grounding. We are in some odd times right now, very odd times, but I find them to be fertile ground for anybody who is willing to take a stand. Today we are going to be speaking about something that I feel is necessary for us to be tabling. And as healthy humans, we are very aware of a key aspect. 1/3 of our existence is fraternization, right? We are humans. We are social beings. It is so important that we not forget that. It is so crucial that we understand that there are issues that are seeping and have seeped deep into society, and that is what creates systemic problems, right? Things that become overlooked, things that are deemed okay and then brushed under the rug. So I want to introduce today a 3-part series that we're going to be embarking on. And on this series, we're going to be speaking about some very important and foundational topics moving forward in the times to come. We must first understand that we are still in a pandemic. So the way that we go about things socially, culturally, economically, financially, all of these things, it must be done in light of these new circumstances that are somewhat alleviating, somewhat, lightening, but we are still in early phases, and it's not even summer yet. As you see, I'm recording in a home. This is not Rainer Avenue Radio. So it's very important for us to understand that there will be changes that need to occur. There's going to be more assessments that need to occur to ensure that we understand, exactly how we're going to make it, how we're going to thrive instead of just surviving in these current times. Yes, they are different. They are not perilous. We can make the most of this situation as we always have the ability to. As I said, there's a lot of fertile ground to be stood on. And in this next 3 weeks, we're going to be speaking about 3 elements that I feel and that I am in full belief are much more corrosive than COVID-19. And even, and I say this with a straight face, and with 100% sincerity, even more corrosive than the killings, the extrajudicial killings that occur so often by cops and vigilantes. So I want you to understand that the elements that we're going to be speaking about these next 3 weeks, in between each lesson, in between each conversation, each dialogue, each time I am in front of you, it is important that you take this in dialogue with your friends and family, that you table this. Because if it is only sticking in your mind, you only have your opinion. And if you're not letting others know that, hey, this is something that has been bothering you as well, or been on your mind, or that you even want another opinion on, there's no way that we will be able to move forward. It will continuously be as if we are in neutral, waiting to be pushed forward or backwards. So again, and we're working with some new equipment here, you guys. So if the light blinks off, I'm just going to reach for it and cut it back on. Again, we are human. And even as humans, we create, androids and other tech. And, we are not perfect. So the tech that we have may not be perfect. So I'm learning new technology right now.
and I'm putting that into use, but it should be solid. I think I Afro-engineered it well enough. So we're going to embark on this series, 3 elements that are much more corrosive than cops or COVID-19 to the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, and the first is, before we get into it, I want to get into the book of the week. There's a new segment that we're going to be doing because we need to engage in much more reading. We need to engage in a deeper sense of education. And I do not mean in terms of going to a school, sitting in a schoolhouse, or logging in. I mean really building the mind and then applying that, which again is why it's so important to facilitate a structured third of your life being the fraternization. This should not just be willy-nilly playtime. This should be times where we can put discourse on the table, possibly over a cup of coffee, possibly on a hike, to figure out what is it that my circle feel about these same issues that I'm reading, the same issues of the society that we're eating in, that we are driving in, that we are working in, that we are part of a financial machine in. It's important that you understand this aspect of others' minds as well as your own mind, lest you become lost again. So I believe that's going to be a key. So the book that, one of the most recent acquirings that I've got was The Weapons of Mass Distraction. Okay, and the subheading is Dismantling the Negative Influence of Hip Hop Music on Our Youth. Okay, this is by Hayward Jean. Again, that's Hayward Jean, very successful youth educator, principal, and youth pastor. So very structured black male who has been recognized at many levels, very humble and very connected to the generations that come after him. All right, that is, not only has it been on my mind for a while, but a lot of the ways that he has put it together in this very, I wouldn't even call it a book, because it's a day read. It's about 70 pages. So you can read that in a morning easily with a couple cups of coffee. So the way that it's written and structured puts into vivid imagery exactly what we are experiencing, what we are financing, and what we are thus saying is okay for our society to have. And it's much easier when you're able to take a step back by yourself and examine something and say, oh shucks, oh man, that's really what we are engaging in. Instead of having to do that, imagine reading this book in front of those who have a lot of social armor on, right? There's going to be a lot of denial. There's going to be a lot of regression in the conversation and dialogue, right? There won't be a lot of progress. So when you're able to digest books or, information like this that's set out in front of you, it's very difficult at that point to go into a sort of dissonance, meaning to disengage with what the actual information is and make a different decision because you do not want to accept the reality of that information. This is the grits, okay? This is the solid information that's going to stick to the surface, all right? And as always, this is all that we're going to bring here on the Hueman Health Show. This is Rainer Avenue Radio, where we give voices and voices are heard. So it's important that those voices have substance, that they are bringing something valuable to raise the vibration of the planet and its people, right? So today we are speaking about that element of weapons of mass distraction, okay? Weapons of mass distraction. The element of destructive music, lyrics specifically, is what we're going to focus on, okay? So in the first half, I want us to examine why are we here thus far? Why is today's topic important? How did we arrive at the point where our society and our culture is so rampant worldwide, and what it provides, what it speaks to, what it attests to are things that are so vile, things that we genuinely don't feel are okay. But when we see a higher level successful performer or entertainer doing these things, then we find it to be fine. And we see this on all levels. We've seen grandmas doing things on videos that they should not have been doing. We've seen children till this day doing things that we know that they should not be doing. And we've seen our own generation, doing things that we ought not be doing in many ways, check out the shirt, right? The Hope Era collection, so really supporting Black business, but at the same time understanding that you have a decision to make, right? So the music that we listen to nowadays, it's not telling us about generational wealth. It's not telling us about generational acquiring of land, right? Of property. It's not telling us that. So it's important to understand that what you listen to on a constant basis, because we must understand one album is on average about an hour, about 60 minutes worth of tracks. Okay, that is a lot of time. How often do we put a song on repeat? How often do we turn on a playlist that has over 30 songs? How often do we make it through said playlist in just one workout? How often do we make it through said playlists on a drive to a different city, or going back to school, or on our commute to and fro work? How often? We must examine the time that we spend with this entertainment medium, okay? This form that we ingest, right? This body that we have, it does not just absorb energy through food and through water. Beautiful cup of coffee here. Beautiful cup, right? Boon boona, good boon right here in my cup, Got some good mushrooms in here as well, some turkey tail. It's still early. So it's important that we understand that this is only one form of feeding ourselves. One form of feeding ourselves. What we see, there are so many aspects, there are so many tunnels into the heart. Please stick with me. Like Gorilla Glue, the eyes are a pathway to the heart. What we see, what catches our eye, what causes us to desire visually through imagery, this is a pathway to the heart. What we hear, we've already spoken about eating. What we hear is another pathway to the heart. And let's not mistake the heart as one everlasting continuous image of pink shapes, right? These things can be tainted, cracked, disintegrated. It's a living part of us. It's a heart. It's influenced by that which is brought into it, okay? So I want us to be aware that if we're spending so much time with something, it's just as if we can take it two ways. Education, athletics. You practice and you study. You study and you practice so that you can become proficient, so that you can be stellar in all tasks when the task arrive. Right? So you study in school and you ace your tests and you teach and tutor your fellow students, right? And you rise higher and higher so that when it's time to elevate all the way through your scholastic ranks and you acquire a job in the community, you are so good at that job that you are just amazing at that job because you've prepared on all the prior levels to not only have the knowledge, but the ability to interact. You have a care for your craft. In addition to that, if you're an athlete, we hear, just go watch The Last Dance. Go watch any of the 30 for 30s where work was put in by an individual or a team and see the outcome. You put in the effort to become better. and it takes time to do that. So in order for us to get a better energy, a better vibration coming in to one of the pathways of our heart, it would be very important to spend more time making sure that those are positive vibrations coming into the heart. I hope you're hearing how I'm speaking, and I hope that it's resonating within your heart right now, because this is the positive vibes that we have to be hearing. These are the different tones that we need to be absorbing, taking, and then again, tabling, because it does us nothing for us to speak one-on-one just like this. It does us nothing to hold this discourse within ourselves. So I take it upon you to be a steward of social justice. I take it upon you to be a steward of manhood or womanhood. I take it upon you to be a steward of superhuman capability and take the conversation and dialogue to another level with your friends and family, with your children, with your associates, your colleagues, your students, and your teachers. Be an influential individual by becoming the change in the world that you wish to see. Do something about it by changing the topic, posing new topics, and then truly engaging in it with everybody to understand why we are where we are in this current time and how we can get to where we want to get to. That's number one. That's number one. By the way, not affiliated with the book, not affiliated with any way that the book is sold, just affiliated, got the same skin color as the man and got the same ideology as the man. It's in print. It's the same ideas that I have, so I express to you that you should get it. Because it's a very powerful tool, very short amount of information, but it's so powerful in how straightforward it is that you can take this amongst your circles and lay it down and say, thou who refuseth, stand against us, you know? Because as humans, as true humans, thinking the way that the natives thought, the indigenous people who originally had this land, 7-generation mentality, making decisions that are going to have a powerful and profound effect 7 generations down the line. It's not about how it benefits me right now. It's not about how I get financial affluence right now. It's not about how many cars I can purchase right now. It's not about how many sales I can make right now. It's about how is this action that I'm doing in this very moment, how is this going to affect my grandchildren's grandchildren's grandchildren? Are you hearing me? Because these are the decisions, these are the intentions that fuel the decisions that genuinely take the world to an elevated plane. How were pyramids built? On multiple continents. Not aliens. A higher consciousness. A higher consciousness. So I want us to be able to tap into that. And it takes being able to table discourse like this to create a higher group consciousness, which we will be speaking about in the coming weeks. So, let's see. We understand we understand how we've arrived at this point. We understand that music began as a cultural expression of the hardships, right? If we go back, if you've been in a music history class, then you see the different eras, right? You go from classical, right? And then you may move in through different countries, right? And then you come into America's sort of bigger era when you get the big band, right? And then you've got then you come into more the barbershop sort of doo-wop, and then the group sort of has the group mentality, of the male or the female group. That sort of has its day. And then, sort of rock comes in, a bit more of a bop beat. And you had soul, of course, through all of these generations, right? And I'm not saying that there is one above another. I'm just saying at each time there was a different vibration that was being put with the words, sometimes no words, sometimes just vibrations, right? So that cultural expression, when it turned into hip hop and rap, that was purely a form of expression of what was going on in the neighborhood in a way to express individuality. Individuality, right? Not tyranny, not oppression, you know. Did it speak of some very, very stark and political occurrences? Yes. Yes, it did. And there's nothing wrong with that. As I said, it's a cultural expression. But when it became torqued and twisted into gangster rap, very blunt, let's be very upfront about it, that is when things took a very serious and stark turn for a negative. And that's what I feel we have to become critical on how we allow that to continue. As always, when you want to be superhuman, when you want to be a super sapien, and you want to make the right decisions continuously and consistently, you have to tap in and be a healthy human. First and foremost, it's foundational. You can remain being a healthy human by tapping in right here on Rainer Avenue Radio. Now, how did the shift occur? There's a lot of literature. I got some literature back here. I got some literature right there, you know, from the war on poverty to the war on crime. And these are really just programs that were shifted. You know, the making of mass incarceration in the country by Michelle Alexander. Okay, these are foundational books that express the change, not only in the voting structure, not only in the way that political parties began to, you know, predate and really programatize around delinquency, or these different ways of saying African Americans are the problem, whether it's poverty, whether it's delinquency, whether it's unemployment. All of these different factors are what continuously fed into the building and the bolstering of this massive facilitation of imprisonment that we see in this country. With America's population, we have a quarter of the world's prison population, and a disgusting number, a disgusting ratio of black and brown prisoners. So these are the things that we must discuss, because we must understand how things progressed on the outside and how that was reflected through the pain and expression on the inside, or on the inside of entertainment, and how that is dispersed into the community, into society, and through that that replication of the person who's disseminating that feeling, that artistry, if you can call it that in certain senses, onto the masses, onto the community. They are now trying to replicate that within their life, right? So this is what we're going to be getting into. This is going to be very, very, very important for us to take to heart. And this is not a take with a grain of salt, because the facts are there. We see it. Just take a listen next time you're at a youth football game or a youth basketball game, girl or boys, and then ask yourself, is this the behavior that I'm hearing displayed on my ears through the loudspeaker as they're warming up? Is that what I would want my child that is actually there performing to do? These are the things that I want us to think about, and these are how I want us to intentionally change our behavior and our decision-making power, okay? Very important, very crucial, but we have more than enough power to be able to do that, all right? So, you know, stay tuned, kick back, get a glass of water. The station's going to holler at you for a few minutes, and then I will be right back, all right? Peace.